All right, what's up, everybody? Got a collection update for you guys here today. Super excited to finally be getting to this one. After this one, I got probably two more left, and then I don't know, we'll still be going through the collection, so I'm not too concerned right now. I haven't been buying a ton lately, just trying to save money and all that stuff. So I've had more than enough stuff to listen to. That's part of the reason I haven't been buying anything. Oh, right. So we're listening to Excalibur by Gravedigger in the background. Amazing, amazing, kind of epic power metal from Germany with some really interesting vocals. The vocals are actually one of the coolest things I think of this band. That, you know, the general epic questing atmosphere, really, really good stuff. No beer today, just hanging around. Just got off work, so just some water. All right, let's get down to business. I got two here from an awesome Australian band. This is still just a mixed bag and still quite a few things from my Boons Overstock order. And I managed to snag the first two Paramecium albums, which is just an absolute score. So this one's from 93, this one's from 96. Let's start here. So this is like the classic one, Exhumed of the Earth. Really, really good gold disc edition, which I've heard that these gold discs sound better. I have noticed no difference whatsoever, but I'm also not the biggest of an audiophile. This is a great kind of My Dying Bride style death doom album. It doesn't maintain the super My Dying Bride feel the entire time. It's an obvious inspiration, but they kind of tail off a little bit more into some funerally doom touches, I would think. Really cool, some violin here and there, some female vocals, which I guess means it's probably influenced by that band, but it's a great record. And then there's this one, Within the Ancient Forest. This is a really great record I had never heard before. This one came also with this really dorky card that some of the Bombworks Productions stuff comes with. Not particularly necessary, but nonetheless, I find them to be very, very cool. Not, like I said, not totally necessary, but whatever. This record's really cool. Apparently one of the main guys in this band, I forgot his name, but he wrote a novel called Within the Ancient Forest, and this whole album is actually a concept of that novel, which is very, very interesting. I haven't read the novel, I'm not familiar, nor am I particularly familiar with the story itself, because I've only had this for a little while, but as time goes on, I feel like I will be able to deep dive into this quite a bit, so it's very exciting to have. All right, next, this is a pickup in one of my local shops I stopped in, and I have seen this there, and it was like double the price I paid for it, and they did a price cut on it, so I grabbed it. This is Virtuosity with Northern Twilight Symphony. If you guys aren't familiar with this, it sounds just like it looks. It is epic neoclassical power metal. This band in particular is from Finland, which I guess I kind of expect some of that kind of stuff to come from Finland, but it's usually like a Swedish thing in my mind or an Italian thing. But they do a really good job with this record. It's bombastic, but it's not as corny as it could be, which is cool. I like cheese and corn all over the place, but some people would find that particularly polarizing. But this in particular album, I really, really liked this one a lot. So definitely check out Virtuosity if you have not. Next, this is a demo from a band from Belgium called Maggia Postuma with the demo Triumph of Nocturnal Depths. Really, really cool stuff. Just a CDR version of this. Done really well. So this, if you guys aren't familiar, is super kind of speedy, interwoven, melodic black metal. All the melodies, they kind of have that swirling effect where they weave into each other, and it's a really nice, dense, thick, and it's a really re-listenable sound. It's really fun. Being like a grim kind of occultish black metal sound is. It's just so good, man. If you guys haven't heard this record before, or this demo, check it out. Belgium has some really, really cool stuff. All right, so here's a couple more from my Boons Overstock pickup. I got the first three albums from Mortification. Super excited to have these. I have the debut here from 1991. This is pretty good. I wasn't as floored by this album as some people seem to be. but I really do like this one quite a bit. It's pretty meat and potatoes, kind of flat production death metal from 1991, which obviously in 91 in Australia, it's not the easiest thing to find a really good death metal producer, as I assume. I never noticed that the album cover was actually done by Jason Sherlock, who's the drummer in this band and in a bunch of these awesome Australian bands. But this is a good record. Then number 2 is Scrolls of the Megaloth. This is really, really good. I think this might be the best Mortification album. It's just really crunchy, really aggressive, and for some reason this band kind of reminds me of Benediction a little bit on these the second and third albums. So if that sounds about right, I would definitely call it that way, because I think it really does kind of remind me stylistically of, you know, the Grand Leveler, things like that. I don't know. If you guys hear that too in this Mortification stuff, let me know. And then here is Postmonetary Affliction. This is the third album from, I don't remember the exact year, 93. So this one was 92. Yeah, that sounds about right. They actually look like they got younger in these photos, which doesn't make any sense. But I actually really, really liked this one. This is a possibility for my number 1. I don't know. Here's the original album cover. The case got broken. I dropped it and need to replace it. And that is the reissue album cover. I like this one a little bit more, I think, but they're both very, very cool. Really great meat and potatoes Australian death metal. Next is something I found at a flea market and just had to pick up because it was cheap. Cross Purposes by Black Sabbath. I just really like to own all of the Sabbath material, and you know, the Tony Martin stuff isn't the easiest thing to find all the time. I'm still on the hunt for some of them, but this is a really decent record. I mean, it's nothing particularly special about it, but there's nothing bad about it at the same time. It's pretty middle of the road. Tony Martin's a great vocalist. He's definitely a metal vocalist as compared to, you know, I mean, I guess all the vocalists have been metal vocalists, bar maybe Ian Gillan and Glenn from Deep Purple. I forgot the guy's name, his last name. But this is a good record. Definitely listen to it if you haven't. The Tony Martin era is a underappreciated era of this amazing, super influential band. All right, next, this is a band called Borgazer from the Netherlands. This is Alchemist Earth of Aeon. So this is listed as symphonic black metal on the Metal Archives, which I'm not really getting a ton of the symphonic elements on there. But this is a band that kind of talks a lot about, they're a Christian band, but they also talk a lot about like anti-government, anarchism, and things like that, and some like world history and stuff like that. It's a pretty good record. It's not the most re-listenable, because it's kind of a lot, and it feels a little jumbled sometimes. You know, it sounds like they had a lot of cool ideas but didn't have perfect transitions in between the really good ideas, if you get what I mean. So it's got a lot of possibilities to be really good, but too bad this band is currently unknown as far as status goes, so we'll never know if we're gonna get another record or not. If they do, I would definitely be interested in checking it out, because I like the ideas they had, but it wasn't executed as perfectly as I'd like. I'd still probably put it at like a 6.5 or a 7, definitely above average, but nothing particularly special. Next, this is a 2-disc set of Toxic stuff, which is World Circus and Think This. It's just one of those digipack reissues that a couple of these thrash bands have gotten recently. So this is really cool little set here. It's got the 2 classic albums from Toxic. I really love World Circus. It's the first track on Heart Attack. That's probably my favorite of the 2. But Think This is pretty cool. I feel like World Circus has a little bit more of a really good thrash attack to it, and then thrashy speed metal. And then Think This seems to dwell a little bit more into like, oh, we want to be a more thinking man's band. And it's interesting, it's fun, but it's not particularly what I wanted out of their second album. But nonetheless, it's great. Like, if I see an LP of it, I'll probably pick it up, because I do have World Circus on LP, so I may as well grab Think This as well. But yeah, really good speedy thrash metal from New York. All right, Mandanus Imperium with their EP Ode to the Night Sky. This is an EP from a Norwegian duo here. They started off under another name and then released this and then re-released it under this name. I forgot the name. It's not Nat Frost. It might be, I don't know. But this is really great. Keyboardy, spacey, kind of melodic black metal. It's really good, kind of cosmic, swirling, not particularly suffocating, but really dark and kind of staticky black metal. It's really good. It's not staticky in the super raw sense, but the production has like a grit to it that I really enjoyed a lot. It's not particularly harsh in that way. It's kind of a weird thing that you got to hear to really get the feel of, you know. It kind of feels sandpapery. It sounds a little sandpapery, if you get what I mean. But it's a great record. It's really short. It's only like 16 minutes or so, and it goes quick, man. You're gonna put this on and you're gonna be like, well, I wish there was like 2 or 3 records of this, because I would be all about it. But yeah, it's really good album, or EP. All right, next, this is an Italian power metal band called Orion Riders, A New Dawn. This is their one and only full length from 2004, out on Lion Music. Really good, kind of mid-paced, borderline progressive power metal at times. It's kind of got a lot of the Maiden gallop to it, and if I remember right, there's some weirder instrumentation thrown in there, kind of some odd melodic tendencies, which is interesting because, you know, Italian power metal is a pretty saturated scene. There's a lot of bands and a lot of bands that are very high quality, so you kind of hear stuff like that and you're like, oh, it's going to be another Rhapsody clone or another this, that, Pandemonium clone, whatever. It's not. It doesn't sound particularly like this. I actually thought this band was Greek originally, and they're not, obviously. They're Italian, but they kind of have a Greek feel to them, so you kind of know that odd melodicism of Greece and their music styles in metal. It kind of reminds me of that. So Orion Riders. Next, had to get it. This is Macaroon with the album Cremation. This is great. This is some meat and potatoes, hefty plate full of meat and potatoes death metal from Thailand. Just a really fun, kind of bash you over the head with brutality record. It's just so entertaining, old school death metal. There's nothing really to say that's super special about it, other than it's super good, it's super listenable, it's riff-a-rama, it's crunchy, it's heavy, it's just bludgeoning you over the head with riff after riff. Great record. Next, not usually my style these days, but I picked it up anyway. This is Frozen Storm Apocalypse by Winter Soul. I picked this up for pretty cheap on Boone's Overstock, and this kind of sounds like Enthroned. Enthroned mixed with maybe earlier Immortal. When I say earlier Immortal, I mean Blizzard Beasts and that kind of an era. So kind of mix those two together, and it's pretty good. It's really blasty, it's really aggressive, and that's just not something I listen to much these days, but I figured why not have it in the collection, you know, for like, I don't know, this could have been more than $6. If you check Boone's Overstock, you'll find a bunch of random cool stuff like this for really cheap. They have all kinds of weird sales, but then you'll have some kind of harder to get a hold of, more expensive items as well. But check out Winter Soul if you have not. I'm kind of blanking on what country they're from. I looked it up right before the video and I forgot, but whatever, Winter Soul. Next, we're getting away from metal here for a second, but this is Novus Magnificent, Hearts of Space by Constance Demby. So she is a composer, which very unassuming photo for making this, but this is a really cool spacey synthesizer classical record. It's 2 parts, and it is here. I'll just read a little excerpt here. Lovers of space music will find Constance Demby's latest to be a state-of-the-art with its sense of expansiveness, its majestic and heartfelt compassion, and striking, all-embracing reverence. It's like hearing the music inside a space cathedral. There's no way not to be affected by it. Demby delivers a genuinely moving performance. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I could read more of it, but I really don't feel like it. It's like really well composed, heavily layered, spacey synth music. I mean, it's a lot like Tangerine Dream and things like that, but maybe a little bit more of a classical tinge as opposed to being I guess you could call some of Tangerine Dream's style a bit avant-garde, if you want to call it that. I don't know, but it doesn't sound like the German scene of this kind of music. It's a little bit more of a classical style, which I guess entails somewhat of a German tonality to it. But either way, next, Rest in Peace discography by Symphony of Grief. Symphony of Grief is a legendary death doom band from New Jersey, and now I believe they're at the end of their career, if they're not still together, went to Pennsylvania, I think. And this is dynamite, dude. This is just absolutely suffocating sounding stuff. It's so heavy, it's so dense, and it's so crunchy all at once. There's just a big, fat, nasty guitar tone. It's low and slow, but the energy is just so emotive. It's really great. It's a very obvious influence on bands like Worm, and that kind of super borderline funeral doom death metal. It's great, dude. If you guys haven't heard Symphony of Grief, this is just so cool. They have a really nice aesthetic to their stuff, all this black and white kind of bleakness to it. It really works well with their style. Check out Symphony of Grief if you guys have not. All right, next, this is a New York death metal band, I believe, either New York and New Jersey, but Those Who Chose the Fallen by Death Rune. This is a compilation of all of their material that they've ever done. It is just a belligerent, brutal death metal album from the 90s, mid to early 90s. I think there might be something as far up as maybe 97 at the latest, and I don't even think that, I don't have the exact numbers in my head right now, but I know that there's a couple demos that are all compiled onto here. It's really good. It's really just like straight ahead brutal death metal for the era, but you know, I like that style a lot. So if you like your Disgorges and things like that, you go check out Death Rune. I mean, if you're a New York death metal guy, why not, right? All right, here's Merkwind by Niflheim. Not Niflheim, this is Niflheim. This is an Australian black metal project, and now you look at it and you're like, oh, that's going to be folky, that's going to sound like Crota, something like that. Not at all. It's really thrashy, good black metal. So this woman, Scotty, and then there's the drummer, Aegir. I don't actually know if he's part of anything, but this is the only project she's ever had a part in, and this is a late 90s, good, raw, kind of, thrashy black metal. I mean, it's kind of somewhat melodic at certain points, but I'm really saying it's super thrashy. But Scottheim Productions, really cool stuff. If you guys like that kind of melodic black thrash, check it out. Next is something I wish that I like more than I do. I want to like more of this kind of stuff, but I really just don't that much. But this is Revolver by The Haunted. I've been wanting to get into The Haunted, and this CD has been sitting at my local shop for a while, and I just wound up one day grabbing it, and it's, you know, it's whatever. It's not the worst thing in the world I've ever heard. Not cool digipack at all, dude. Something's up with, like, this part of the Swedish scene for me. I don't know, this band and, like, Soilwork and anything past, like, the first 2 or 3 Dark Tranquilities, I'm just like, no thanks. And it doesn't help that it's dark melodic death metal with some heavy Pantera influence, and I used to listen to more Pantera than I do. It's not just, I just don't care anymore. I don't know. So I don't know, we'll see. I'll keep it around, maybe revisit it, maybe it'll grow on me. I have my doubts, but a boy can try, can't he? Alright, so Dios de Dioses by Hortor. This is a great Mexican black metal band. I have this on cassette already, but I picked it up cheap off of Boone's Overstock and figured why not grab the CD, right? So this is, like I said, a Mexican band, and they're very angry sounding black metal. It's really aggressive, but it's not blasty all the time. I mean, it's blasty on occasion, but it's not like a constant blast fest like some of these bands are. But it's really good Mexican black metal, straight ahead, really angry, really feral, good stuff. All right, next, this is a death thrash band called Oblivion with the album From This Day Forward. The country of origin is kind of blanking on me. I think they might be English, but I don't particularly remember. But check out that album cover. That's super sick. Really, really good stuff. It's kind of techy, kind of reminds me a bit of Coroner, but maybe a little bit more death metal than Coroner ever was. It's just really, really solid stuff, really listenable. There's a lot to pick apart on it. You know, it's kind of got that vector effect where there's a lot of stuff going on, but you like everything that's happening. It's just so hard to kind of digest all at once. It's really, really good, really fun, really, you could kind of turn your brain off and just listen to heaviness, or you could sit there and pick it apart. I feel like there's a really good way of listening to these kind of bands. It's kind of like, obviously it sounds nothing like it, but I have the same effect with atmospheric black metal, where it's good for background or sitting there and contemplating and listening to. And that kind of techie death thrash has that similar effect to me. Really good record. Next, something I just kind of, I felt obligated to buy for whatever reason. This is Accident of Birth by Bruce Dickinson. It's one of his solo records from 1997. I never really visited the Bruce stuff before, but it's not bad. It's just not the greatest thing in the world. I mean, it kind of sounds like a lighter Iron Maiden with some 90s inspired rock parts. I don't know. It's decent. It's not amazing. It's just straight up heavy metal. But it's not worth throwing in the garbage or anything. But it's entertaining enough to keep around. And, you know, I'll definitely revisit this on a later occasion. But Bruce Dickinson. Last one for today. It's a style I don't talk about very often because I don't listen to very much of it. I used to love this stuff a lot more than I do now. But this is Lemonisis by Space Slug. This is a Polish stoner doom band. Very psychedelic, very droning and riffy kind of stuff. I mean, this is one of those bands that you feel like you've heard a million times, but really can't pinpoint anything special about it. You know, there's a million bands that sound like this, but you don't hear a lot of Polish stoner doom. I feel like it's not the #1 genre in Poland, but it's cool. I do appreciate it for what it is, and you know, the occasional mood for this will strike, and if I don't want to listen to Sleep or Electric Wizard or something like that, I'll put this on because this is maybe a little bit more jam oriented. So yeah, I'm gonna call it at that, y'all. Didn't want to make this too long. Glad to keep it under 25, and I'll catch you guys on Tuesday. See you in the next one. Keep it greasy.